Live, special. Major destruction. Heathrow Airport.
Good evening.
Closure.
Heathrow Airport, which is normally one of the busiest in the world, but which
Important
today has been eerily
subject,
silent,
UK 25.
barely any planes landing or taking off. A fire at a nearby electricity substation shut Heathrow down
It's 10 o'clock news,
entirely
10 a.m.
in the
in
early
the
hours
evening.
of this morning. Some
This was 22
flights
a.m.
have resumed this evening,
20.
and Heathrow says that there'll be a full operation tomorrow.
21st
The
of
government
March,
said it's
Friday evening, 25.
temporarily lifting restrictions
25.
on overnight flights. But the day
That's
has been
disgusting.
chaotic,
Lifting
with around
temporary
200,000
overnight flights. So that means we're all going to get very little sleep tonight. There's going to be planes over our houses, waking us up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock. Do you like that? Do you think that's acceptable for this government to allow that to happen? No, I don't think so. I don't like him. Give thumbs up, but boo to for the Prime Minister to let him allow them to night flights.
As night fell,
Because people in London would not be very happy on the news, especially people in the Wimbledon area, Staines on Thames, and Sunbury on Thames. They'll be very angry. Lack of sleep. Sorry, Kean Starmer, you are a
The
pisshead.
chaos began just after 11 last night with an oil-fuelled inferno.
Oh.
It was one of the main electricity substations that power Heathrow, the world's 5th busiest airport and a key part of the UK's critical national infrastructure.
Sorry to swear, but sorry about that, guys.
The police declared a major...
Someone's watching, he should know better than this.
180 people were evacuated from...
Do you think we should expand Heathrow Airport? No. This proves it's flimsy.
25,000 litres of cooling oil fully alight. This created a major hazard due to the still live high voltage equipment and the nature of the oil fuelled fire.
It's all dark here, mate.
The effect on Heathrow, a catastrophic failure of the electricity...
It's Ratcliffe, guys.
Two terminals had no
Ratcliffe.
power at all for
Who was
hours.
behind it all? Kean Starmer.
All the airport
Prime
systems
Minister.
had to be
MI6.
restarted once an alternate supply had been connected.
These people ain't doing their job properly, are they?
Heathrow grounded all planes and cancelled all incoming flights. Some lucky passengers were diverted to other UK airports, but most
Like
were
Gatwick.
stranded.
Or Glasgow.
Tori Donzello was flying back from America for her father's funeral.
Or to
I
France.
went to the map, the well-being map, and I saw that we'd done like a U-turn. And I said to my husband, "Hey, we're turning around. We're heading to Boston." And he was like, "No, we're not. Obviously not." So I was like, "We are."
Workmen could be seen casually walking down what are usually some of the world's busiest runways. But although the fire had stopped all flights at Heathrow for 18 hours, the chief executive insisted the contingency plans had worked.
Boo. Load of rubbish. Funds down this Prime Minister, funds down, you know. These people really are letting people down.
The amount of systems that we have to shut down, then bring back up.
Yeah, redundancy backups didn't work do well, did they?
Escalators, elevators.
Because the effect on a piece of critical national infrastructure was
Was
so
it deliberate?
serious,
Who cares?
the
Well,
investigation
who
into
cares?
what caused
Does
the fire is
do
being
people
led
care? I
by
don't know.
counter-terrorism police.
Was it
But so
deliberate?
far, detectives are not treating it as suspicious and say there's no sign of foul play by a hostile state like Russia or a terrorist group.
We need to understand.
The thing is, now they've seen it on the news, they know that's a weak spot. So they might go for it, the terrorists now. If that's the carrot fly for the airport, that's a target for them. So that needs to be tightened security-wise now.
How did a single substation fire knock out such an important airport, and what other
So
bits of
embarrassing.
national infrastructure are vulnerable?
You could understand.
Yeah, like Longleat Centre Parks. Is that vulnerable?
To alternate systems and so on, but such a complete failure over the period of a day.
It's just in London's power supply at a serious risk as well.
Shouldn't have happened.
With Heathrow's runway lights all working tonight and the first flights taking off, the London Fire Brigade said its investigation was focusing on the electrical equipment at the substation. Daniel Sandford, BBC.
Substation. Crap it is. The whole thing's a joke.
A handful of flights have started, but how long until the service...
Now they know it's there, the terrorists will go for it.
Sean Dilley is with me. It's been a terrible day for passengers.
Oh, especially for people that are disabled and blind and all that, and in wheelchairs.
Off turn, does it? The picture now, as you've seen behind you, Rita, there have been planes taking off, not all of them with passengers.
Oh, really?
First passenger service to Saudi Arabia had taken off. Many of the flights behind us are relocating because part of the nightmare for airport managers and the passengers...
They shouldn't fly at night flights. That's disgusting. I'm sorry, but it comes... People's health comes first, Keir Starmer. Do you want to
having to work either on contingency planning,
keep people up at 3 o'clock in the morning?
Get the aircraft where they're supposed to be, but it is good news for passengers. Heathrow hopes to resume normal service tomorrow. Most Virgin flights, for example, expected to run. But here's the advice: tomorrow, before you set off to Heathrow or indeed any airport, it's good advice anyway, right? Is check with your airline to see that you should proceed to the airport.
Sean, thank you very much. Sean Dilly there. Well, some flights which were in the air...
It's either problems at transport control or it's aerial drones. Our country's a joke.
As the day progressed, many more passengers all around the world found themselves stranded.
Now we've got night flights.
Cancelled or new tickets for their destinations unavailable. Mark Ashdown reports now on a...
I think a lot of people will be having accidents on the roads tomorrow in London because they'll lack of sleep. Who's to blame for it? Keir Starmer. More accidents on the road, that's all you want. Driverless, sleeping drivers. Clever.
Her screen displayed a new destination. They were going back to Delhi.
We would have to sit on the tarmac for about 90 minutes, and yeah, it's just starting to be chaos.
From dawn, people still arrived at Heathrow, only to find it dark and deserted. Hundreds of flights due to arrive had to be turned back. Work colleagues Andrew and Will left New York, only to find themselves 16 hours later via a pit stop to refuel in Canada, back where they started.
We awoke to a picture on our phone of the plane doing a U-turn. At this point we were 4.5 hours in flight, so right over the top of the Atlantic, and so we were quite shocked when we woke up and saw it was heading back in this direction.
So it was like, we're getting hijacked here, or what's going on? So it's not ideal, but sort of counting my lucky stars, that wasn't the situation.
Anna was up at 3 a.m. to head out to New York for a joint birthday anniversary trip, but her flight was cancelled.
I've kind of cried all my tears now, which is really sad, but I've made peace with it. Sometimes things just don't go your way, and today was just one of those events.
Many flights had to be diverted to any airport in Europe with space. Here, passengers flying to London from Cape Town instead found themselves disembarking in Barcelona. Shai Ravindra filmed the queue while awaiting information.
Everyone's a bit tired, everyone's a bit cranky. There was no guidance as to where to go to get back to a new hotel and flights.
A lucky few made it to a UK airport. Those least inconvenienced landed at London Gatwick. Even then, it wasn't always a smooth arrival.
Well, apart from waiting for your bags for 4.5 hours and not even getting a voucher for a cup of tea, that was a bit annoying. But everybody going on to Ireland and other connecting flights is having a nightmare.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
A few actually ended up closer to home, like Claire, diverted from Heathrow to Glasgow.
I was meant to fly to Newcastle tonight, so actually it's great for me. So
You're
I'm in
closer to
Glasgow.
home.
I'm closer to home. My husband's on his way, so everything's fine.
But for hundreds of thousands
for
of passengers, this travel misery.
The whole thing's a joke.
Mark Ashdown, BBC News.
Well, someone's going to pay for this. The Prime Minister. It's all your watch.
Had an impact across the world. Nick Beach from BBC Verify reports now on how the...
Well, we're sort of blaming the Conservatives for it, what the Labour Party was saying.
Europe's busiest airport being
out
of action sparked a big global impact. But let's zone in on where and when this all started. This is the North Hyde electric station, which powers Heathrow Airport.
Caused destruction on the Elizabeth line as well.
This is moments after the fire starts.
The smoke and fire.
That this video was filmed at 11:30.
Delayed and cancelled. The planes, trains were as well.
Say that minutes later, there is a second blast, and then come tweets about the power being out, including from someone staying at a hotel next to the airport.
What
London's Metropolitan Police declares a major incident, and straight after, this is now 1:44 in the morning, a message is sent out to all pilots that Heathrow has been shut. It's because of a major incident hitting the power supply.
At this moment, 120 flights are in the air, heading for Heathrow. Less than an hour later, the airport tweets that it will be closed until at least the end of Friday. Let's have a look at how the impact of all this played out in this sped up footage.
Blimey.
You can see all these planes were destined for Heathrow, but they all had to be diverted,
Wow.
meaning this was what the Heathrow arrival boards looked like early on Friday morning. These were the cities and airports that took in the highest number of Heathrow diversions.
Blimey.
Among them, Frankfurt, Paris, Washington DC, London Gatwick,
France.
and Amsterdam. Many other flights were cancelled as a knock-on effect.
30 flights were scheduled to fly between Amsterdam and Heathrow today. They have now all been cancelled.
Wow, what a miserable day to fly.
7 flights, long-haul flights. They were already airborne when the news came.
Even Simon Cole got caught up in it. He's stuck in Glasgow Airport.
But they aren't expecting to receive any further.
He's the travel editor.
Each day, there are more than 30 flights from the New York area airports to Heathrow. JFK is its busiest route, and here at Newark International, several flights that took off last night were diverted to Ireland and Scotland. One had to turn back halfway across the Atlantic. Those passengers still stranded are frustrated and exhausted.
I'm not surprised.
Some, though, have been able to find alternate routes.
All this global disruption from one fire in West London.
It's mad.
Look, these were Heathrow flights at midday last Friday, and this was midday today. Passengers still face days of disruption.
Well, there you go.
BBC News.
It's not over yet. This government's got to pay for
the
it.
cost of today's disruption
It's ridiculous.
is expected to run into millions
So
of
it's going to hit the economy. England's economy is about to die for.
have been disrupted by
This is going to affect the economy badly.
or in the disruption expected in the
We can't have a third runway, I'm afraid to say. It's too flimsy. These power supplies.
Well, the rules around all this can be complicated. Firstly, what to do if you're stranded. Most people affected will have
Sounds like the right side
tickets with a
screen.
British or EU airline. This means you'll be able to get a refund for all or the parts of your ticket you haven't used. But be aware, if you do this, the airline has no further duty of care to you. You're on your own. If you still want to travel, then your airline must offer you the choice of a replacement flight as soon as possible, even with rival carriers.
I see.
There may not be the same obligations, though, if your flight was coming to Heathrow with a non-UK or non-EU airline. You could find yourself dependent on their
Hands at the right side screen.
Knowing your rights is
They
one
squash
thing,
out on signage, yeah.
reality is another.
People will be facing an almighty scramble for seats. It's going to be very difficult to speak to anybody from the airline. You have a legal right that the airline must get you home, must get you to your destination, but in practice that can be really hard to enforce. Now what you can do if you're desperate is book your own flight home. That is liable to be expensive, and the warning is it may be some time until you're able to claw that money back from the airline.
So, what else are you entitled to? Again, under UK law, airlines have a strong duty of care. If you're at the airport, they're obliged to offer free accommodation if you have to stay overnight or fly the next day, as well as transport there and back, a reasonable amount of food and drink, and refund the cost of any necessary phone calls. If your airline isn't able to arrange assistance, you have the right to organise this yourself and claim back the cost. The industry regulator advises people not to spend more than is necessary and keep all the receipts. What about compensation? Can you claim it? Airlines won't be paying anything extra because this situation will be seen as an extraordinary circumstance beyond their control.
That's disgusting.
But it's worth checking to see if you're covered by your travel insurance. You may also be able to recover some costs if you booked with a credit card. So all in all, a pretty stressful situation to navigate.
Please subscribe to my channel, Simon Jones. Let's watch the video. Smile, be happy.